Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured, why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description and every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say, I'm watching so-and-so show. And then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it. And that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about Season 2, Episode 5 of Paramount Plus's Mayor of Kingstown, entitled Killbox. The episode title is pretty obvious here. It's based upon the terminology that's used to describe the place where Bunny is shoved into. I've heard it only referred to as like solitaire or solitary. Solitaire, that's the card game. Solitary. I put solitaire in my notes. Y'all know I was off for a minute. I was sick. My back is fucked up. Give me a break. Solitaire. Solitary. That's what I've always only heard it referred to as. But they call it the kill box in this episode, and that's what it's based on. I want to talk about that scene, and that's how I want to start talking about the episode. But first, I do want to point out that I did an episode of the Daily DVR podcast talking about this episode of this show. So if you looked at this and you're like, or listen to this and you're like, yeah, you know, I like Mike talking about this episode for 15, 20 minutes. You know what I need, though? I need to hear him talk about it for an hour. Then I got the podcast link for you. I don't know where it's going to be. I'm going to put it somewhere up here. I don't know, like, you know how the orientation is, like, opposite for the camera? So, like, even if I look on my screen, if I say where I expect it to be when I put the video up, it might be somewhere different. But wherever, like, whichever finger is pointing at the logo for the television show, the opposite finger is pointing where the link is going to be for that podcast. So if you want to listen to that, check that out. I said me and the host, Axel Foley, we talked about this episode for about an hour. So get you a little bit more in-depth content there. Yeah, and I'll post that link in the post, what's it called? Like post-production? I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It's just some shit YouTube makes me do at the end when I'm posting the video. I'll post the link to that podcast if you're interested in listening to it. So let's talk about this end of this episode, because I had some, I don't want to say questions necessarily, but I'm wondering not just how you guys interpreted it versus how I interpreted it, but what the show is meaning to tell us. Because it's something that I think occurred a couple of times this season where I'm unsure if the show is giving me the amount of information that it wants to give me, and only that, and it will give me what I need later, or if they think they're being a lot clearer than they are. That's where I'm kind of hung up. I don't know for sure, and I felt that about the ending. So at the end of the episode, we see, I'm going to run down a couple of names, the ones that I know off the top of my head. We hear Gunnar mentioned in this conversation that happens when Bunny is essentially abducted at the end of this episode. Gunnar is the head of the Aryan crew within the prison. His main henchmen or whatever, they take Bunny, they shove him in solitaire, and he says something to the effect of like, Gunnar wanted you off the yard for this move. I guess it means that he's cool with having like an Oreo prison or some shit like that. And then what we end up seeing is we see one of the black prison guys and one of the white prison guys collaborate to burn alive the Mexican leader of the gangs in the prison. So what was unclear to me about this, and I'm wondering what you guys think, is when the guy that kidnaps Bunny tells him that Gunner wants him off the yard for this, or he wants him isolated, it felt like, well, he didn't say isolated, but that's how I interpreted it. He wanted him isolated from this. Like, whatever goes down, he wants Bunny to essentially have an alibi. Like, Bunny wasn't involved. Bunny was in solitary. You know, like, that's what I thought I was hearing. But at the same time, that to me reads as Gunner was looking out for Bunny. But at the same time, why was he beaten up first? And then if Gunner was looking out for Bunny and pulling Bunny off the floor, that would suggest some sort of favoritism with Bunny. But at the same time, if that's the case, who gave the order for the black guy to help with burning the Mexican leader? Because like that showed to me that a deal had already been made between the whites and the blacks, because the one white guy is taking Bunny off the yard, then the other white guy, I think he had the lighter fluid or whatever, and then the black guy had the lit the flame, or maybe it was in reverse. I think the black guy had the lighter fluid and the white guy had the flame. But whatever the case may be, that showed a white and black collaboration that had nothing to do with Bunny. So then that makes me wonder, is Bunny out? Like have they come to an agreement where the one guy with the braids, that's Bunny's homeboy, like, is he in charge now? Or is the one-eyed black guy, the leader of the Bloods, who we see kind of like, I think we see him having like conversations that we don't hear on the yard. Is he in charge now? Did he make a deal with Gunner? Like, I'm trying to figure out if Bunny is being helped or if Bunny has been supplanted. And then I'm also trying to figure out what the show wants me to think right now. Like, am I supposed to be unclear on that, or does the show think that they were clear enough? That's what's kind of holding me up, because there's a couple of things that I've seen where I felt that as well, including a situation with these bonds. Just situations where I'm like, okay, are they holding back information for later reveals, or do they think that they're clear with what they're saying? And that's kind of fucking with me. And that's something I'm not going to be able to be clear about until I know how this plays out. So I guess we'll see in the next episode. But I do want to talk about the prison arc in and of itself a little bit. Like, I enjoyed this episode, but now I'm starting to feel like the pacing is pretty slow at this point. Like, sorry, I'm still working through like getting this cold sickness out of me. I'm still dealing with that. Sorry. But the slowness of this prison arc, in that, like, I'll just pose this question to you guys. How many times have we heard get me out of here, Mike. I'm working on it, Bunny. You do your thing on the inside. I'll do my thing on the outside. I'm almost there. Like, how many times have we heard that conversation? 38, 39, somewhere in that range. Like, it's been a lot. And that to me is an indication of just how long this is dragging out. And well, I don't want to say dragging. I'm not fed up yet, but like, I need something to happen with this. When I say something to happen, I need an event to take place where we now are going to respond. Our concern is going to move to, what do we do now? How are people going to handle this? So what I mean by that is, in this episode, we see Bunny kind of have a conversation with Mike something to the effect of like, it's already over now. This is it. Motherfuckers is fed up waiting on you. It's done. It's a wrap, right? That's the kind of tone that we hear in this conversation with Bunny and Mike toward the end of the episode. So now let's say, he's been not promising, but warning Mike about the possibility of some sort of blowback coming to him. You guys know my Kyle theory. So let's say that's the thing, right? So let's say something happens to Kyle in episode 6. Like that, now we've reached the moment where instead of dragging out the prison thing, like, let me out of here. It's going to be a while. Let me out of here. It's going to be a while. Let me out of here. I'm really working on it. People are getting mad. I'm really working on it. Like, instead of that shit, we finally get to, okay, so now an action was taken. Again, let's say it's my Kyle theory. Now we can deal with the remainder of the season. Okay, now what happens? What's the fallout from the Kyle thing? So like my point is that it feels like we kind of like stretch this like first 5 out a little bit longer than we needed to. Like these first 5 could have been maybe like a tight 3, maybe 4, and then we could have got to whatever happens with this prison situation and then deal with the fallout of that. It just feels like the prison arc has been drawn out too long. Like, okay, for instance, the thing with the bonds that we found out, I felt like the bonds thing had been drawn out too long. What was the other thing? Iris. Okay, Iris has been drawn out too long. What I mean by Iris has been drawn out too long, what is her purpose? What is her point? Like right now, she's just this damsel in distress that Mike inexplicably wants to protect against all better logic, which is annoying because Mike is a smart character, except for when it revolves around Iris. And if there's going to be a character that's going to make Mike stupid, at least make that character worth making him stupid. But she has shown no value whatsoever other than just like, oh, I'm just wandering Earth being abused and no one's helping me. Like, no, like show her having some sort of like actual value to this show. And they haven't, and they made a smart character be dumb because of it. Like that I don't like. And then we don't even know what Iris's purpose is. Like I was saying, I think earlier this season, that I thought that the Iris thing might have been a long con, where like she was just kind of like cozying up to Mike, but at the end of the day, she was always going to betray Mike back for Milo. And I thought that was going to be like a season 1 arc. Now we're halfway through the second season, if not farther. I don't know how many episodes it's supposed to be. Halfway through the second season, if not farther. And I still don't know where is Iris stand? Is she back to, is she legit helping Milo? I don't know. Milo, I don't know, but like these are kind of things that I feel like the show needs to have some sort of resolution to, so then we can then deal with the fallout, especially given, I mean, this isn't going to make a difference because all this was done before he got hurt, but like what if we don't ever see this show again? Like Jeremy Renner got really hurt. It's probably going to be a long time before he can even function normally again, let alone start doing Mayor of Kingstown season 3 or Hawkeye or whatever the fuck he might have going on. We might not ever see this show again. Wrap this shit up. Like these things that have been going on too long, wrap them up, and then let's get to the resolution, the fallout. Like, okay, now our character's challenge is how do they accept or deal with or contend with whatever it is that happens. So like, that's my little miniature rant that I feel like the show needs to improve on. But now I want to talk about some of the other stuff that I liked here. So one, when the opening, kind of like the cold open that we get before the theme song, that last shot before the credits where that dude's head was like bashed into the floor, that was a sick shot. I thought that was cool. I just wanted to say that. Just like, I normally would put that in my thoughts, but I had it at the top of my notes and I just thought that was a sick shot. Like the skull, like, oh, it was sick. But one thing I want to talk about this episode is we meet Bunny's cousin, Rhonda, I think what her name was. I love how at first she tells him like, you lost my cousin. He's like, I ain't a loser. He's in the system and I just gotta find him. I'm like, so you like, that's the definition of lost him. You don't know where he is. Like, it doesn't matter if you know the general vicinity. Like, oh, I didn't lose him. I know he's in Indianapolis. I just don't know where in Indianapolis. Then you lost him. like, come on, Mike. But she talks about needing protection because with Bunny being like legit gone, there's no one there to really protect her. And when I say protect her, I don't necessarily mean that maybe she's involved in, you know, all the stuff that Bunny's involved in, but it could just be a simple thing like she could be looked at as a target just as a way to get to Bunny. Like if you're one of Bunny's enemies, they'd be like, oh, there's normally some protection around Rhonda's salon or whatever, that nail shop or whatever that was she worked in. There's normally protection there. Now Bunny's locked up. They got all this shit going on in the streets. His people are in different places. She's super vulnerable. If we hit her, that's going to hurt Bunny. Like, just even from that perspective, she's got some concern. But she goes really hard on Mike about everything that's going on with Bunny and him being this, like, white savior kind of deal. But she also hits him with, like, compliments on his appearance. And, like, in both meetings, the one in his office and then the one in her salon. If listen, white men, if a black woman calls you a pretty ass white boy, make your move. You're good. Make the move. That she likes you. And what's interesting about this, I'm wondering if they are considering making like a Rhonda Mike relationship, especially if they do it, Lord willing, they kill off Iris, and they want to still have some sort of romantic interest for him. It would be interesting to have it be Rhonda because that could create some additional conflict between him and Bunny. And then I also even wonder what Rebecca, as I call her on my Facebook page when I'm commenting on the show, Receptionist Titties, because it's like she always got him out for like no reason. Like you work at the front desk in like a rundown office, and it's like why you always got him just like up, but up and out. But we love Rebecca here, but that might be interesting too. Like she might be like looking at it like, okay, why? Like, oh, so you like black women? Like. like I've been your receptionist this whole time and you ain't never made a move on me. Now Bunny cousin roll up in here and now you just fully interracial marriaging out here. Like, I don't know, that could make some conflict too. So that could be interesting. I don't know if they plan on doing that, but the like 98% shade that came from Rhonda mixed in with 2% of pretty ass white boy, you only need 0.001% of pretty ass white boy to be in there. And then you saw how much he was, my grandma used to say, skinning and grinning when he gave her his business card. Like, yeah, I think they're trying to do something here. So Joseph kills, I'm going to call him Skinny Pete. I think his name was Horace. I think it was Horace. His name was Horace, I think, in this, but I'm gonna call him Skinny Pete because he's Skinny Pete, bro. But Joseph kills Skinny Pete's wife as he would. I mean, it makes sense that that's something he would do. Seems like something he would do. Mike assumes that he probably got information out of her, but Milo is unhappy. And I like this scene because, like, I didn't like Joseph killing Skinny Pete in the last episode because, like I said in the video, I felt like Skinny Pete had a whole lot of leverage, and it seemed like the show didn't agree with that. Like, the show wanted to make me think that he didn't. But, like, well, I already explained it, but you guys know Skinny Pete had a whole lot of leverage with something that's very important to Milo. Joseph works for Milo. He needed to be careful to make sure he got what he needed. Killing him before he got the information now puts you right back to square zero. And I like that Milo called that out, because if he hadn't, I would have been sitting here thinking, like, is the show that dumb that they thought that was a good move for that character, and we're just gonna pretend like killing the only person who knew where Milo's bonds were was an okay thing to do. So, like, that let me know that they know Joseph was being stupid. So now I can look at it like, okay, now I know Joseph is meant to be like a badass, but he's also very much dumb. Like, he will make the bad decision, and the show acknowledges that. So now I can look at him as a potential bad decision maker. Whereas if the show didn't acknowledge that, I would have looked at the show as a bad decision maker, because he definitely made a bad decision. The show acted like it was a good one. So, like, I like that. I would have lost some respect for the show if they hadn't done that, so I'm glad that they did. And another thing they did that I liked was Bunny tried to... So once Bunny realized that all of the different gang leaders were in the same prison after the move, everybody else was like, yo, Mike's not getting it done. We got to do this on our own. He's not going to help. The one Mexican guy said the same thing in the meeting with Kareem and the other leaders. He's like, we got to do our own thing. And when Bunny initially discovered that everybody was in the same prison, and everyone else was saying like, oh, fuck Mike, Bunny was like trying to rationalize this being like some sort of mastered stroke of a plan on Mike's part, where he's like, yeah, I bet he must be moving everybody into the same prison for his next move. And I like that because it showed me that even though Bunny plays hard every time they have a conversation, at the end of the day, Bunny is stretching the lengths of plausibility to their extremes to try to justify or rationalize a way in which Mike comes out of this okay. And I think that's because he wants Mike to come out of it okay, because he likes Mike, and the show kind of, I think, dances around that. I think they lean slightly a little bit into the idea that Mike kind of likes Bunny, but they always have Bunny make sure that we know that it's a strictly business relationship. And I think in that moment, I came to understand that even though outwardly Bunny makes it seem like a very, very much a business relationship, he has come to care about Mike, because there's no way he could believe at this point that this is still a move by Mike. He just needs to rationalize that so that he could feel okay and not tell himself that, yo, the guy that I respected, the guy that I like, the guy who I've trusted, he let me down. Or he lied to me, and he never planned on getting me out in the first place. Like, Bunny doesn't want to believe that. And that scene let me know that he doesn't want to believe that. So then if he does reach a point where he does believe that, and he acts in a way where maybe we wouldn't have thought Bunny would act before, I'm still going to believe it, because now I know how badly he didn't want to believe it. So now if he believes that Mike deserves some sort of something happening to him, that means he really, really, really had to like get over a big time hurdle to get to that point. So I like how they did that. And I'm excited to see if that's what's actually going to happen, because I feel like that is. At some point, Bunny's going to have some sort of direct involvement and some retribution toward Mike. And when it happens, he's probably not going to do it easily. He'll probably still do it. And I will believe both his hesitation and his completing whatever the action is. And I think that's because they've done a good job of building that up with Bunny. And I think the actor who plays Bunny has done a great job with that as well. So shout out to that dude. Another interesting thing that happens in this episode is we learned that one of the 3 people that Kareem beat earlier in the season for presumably raping him during the riot last season, which, you know, we didn't see, but I think it's safe to assume actually took place. One of those 3 guys that Kareem beat the shit out of, I want to say that was probably episode 1. One of those guys is throwing up in the prison yard, throwing up blood, and Carney tells Kareem, like, yo, this one guy, he's a real problem. He's like, all right, whatever, take care of it. Yeah, but he's a special guy. Like, he's, like, really hurt and he's beat up, but it's not a big deal. He's like, just say, like, you can't say he's like, oh, no, he said, like, we can say he got beat up by another inmate. He's like, yeah, we could say that, and it's like, Carney was continuing to be coy, and at no point did he ever directly say it. But when he said he's one of the 3 and Kareem showed concern, that to me told me that he was referring to one of the 3 people that Kareem beat, which is why he was pressing on, we could say something different, but I just wanted you to know because this, like, directly involves you. And then also Carney kind of like, but I got your back, though. I thought that was interesting as well. The last thing I want to talk about is the bonds. We see the bonds stolen in this episode. And I like how they did it because originally when I watched it, I thought somebody broke in and stole the bonds. But now, when I rewound it and I watched it again, it looked like the cop who was there wasn't locking it. I think he was actually unlocking it, and he was setting the lock like in the grates of the door cage, so that person could just walk in there, grab the bonds, come back out, lock it, and it will look like nobody broke in or anything like that, and it'll be easier for that guy to steal the bonds. Now the question is, who is involved in this and why? To me, that kind of read like Milo might have somebody on the inside of the police force. At the same time, it could have been the black guy, I think his name's Steven or something like that. It could have been that guy, but if he wanted to steal the bonds, he could have done that without ever telling Mike. He didn't have to tell Mike the second time about the, you know, oh, now so-and-so knows, now the wife knows about, I mean, the wife got hurt or whatever. Like, I can't remember what it is, but he told Mike, he brought up a conversation with the bonds again where, side note, I thought it was kind of unclear about, like, were the bonds checked into evidence or logged into evidence or not. Like, I wasn't even sure. I'm like, are the bonds on the record or not? Like, I feel like y'all are not being clear with this either. But whatever the case may be, Steven, whatever, the one black guy that told Mike about the bonds, he could have never told Mike about the bonds if he wanted them. But he told Mike about the bonds originally, like, in the middle of the night. Like, there's a big deal, get here. Like, if you wanted to steal them, why would you bring the fucking mayor to your police station? So I kind of feel like it wasn't him. I lean toward the idea that Milo has someone on the inside that might have helped that. But I'm curious, again, if this is another situation where, am I supposed to have a clear picture of what happened here? Or did they tell me all the information they needed to tell me, and I'll learn what else I need to learn in the next episode? So I don't know, but I'm very interested to see what's happening there too. And then I want to wrap up with 2 quick thoughts. Like I mentioned at the top, thankfully there was no Iris this week. Kyle tells Mike to let Milo go, and Mike says something to the effect of like, "Oh, he hurt someone and he broke someone and he's got to fix it," or something like that. And like I said, Iris is not worth. Like, they have not, to me, made Iris worth that. They haven't made Iris a character of value or someone that I could say, okay, Mike would love this person or Mike would care for this person. All they've done is make her wander around lifelessly in the face, like doing inexplicable things, acting like a petulant fucking child, and then like inexplicably he's just like, yeah, I just have a thing for damaged lifeless in the face blondes, and now he's doing all kinds of dumb shit to protect this person who continues to put herself in dangerous situations anyway. Like, the Iris thing is terrible and they need to kill this character, but I don't like that Mike is, again, like I said, they're making Mike a perpetually smart character be stupid for a character that's not worth him being stupid for. Like, they haven't, and that's not my opinion. Like, I don't believe she's worth being stupid for. The show has not shown me why Mike would value her that highly, other than just the idea that he has a thing for, like, damsels in distress or charity cases or something like that, which they have not shown me in anything other than his interactions with Iris. So I just feel like the show has not earned me believing that a smart character like Mike will make bad decisions for Iris, because the show has not shown me that Iris is someone who Mike values in that way. So that's just how I feel about that. And the last thing I want to talk about real quick, it's more of a question. What's up with this scene with Ian visiting this guy Charlie in the prison, who he's clearly like exchanging, I think it was like burgers or something for information about bodies that this guy buried. And one, the guy, if you don't recognize him, I recognize him as, he played Lim on The Shield, which is like my all-time favorite show. And he looked really old. I almost didn't recognize him. But wondering what's up with that. That's totally unrelated, right? Like, I didn't miss something from a previous episode where I'm supposed to know what was going on there. It's weird, right, to introduce an entirely new plot point in toward the end of the 5th episode. Like, that's weird. I don't know what that's about. Let me know what you guys thought about that strange scene. But that's all I have for this episode. I will see you guys next week for episode 6. And until then, peace.